A very long time ago, in a land called Anatolia, there were many small states. This land is now modern-day Turkey. These states were led by brave warriors known as beys. One of these beys was a man named Osman. He was the leader of a small group of Turkish people. They were strong fighters and skilled horsemen. Osman was born around the year 1258, and he inherited his leadership from his father, Ertuğrul. His small state was located on the edge of the great Byzantine Empire. This bigger, older empire was often weak, and Osman saw an opportunity to grow his own lands and influence. He was a clever and ambitious leader who knew how to unite people under his banner. Osman's story is often told with a famous dream. Legend says that one night he dreamt of a great tree growing from his own body. The tree's branches spread out to cover the entire world, shading mountains and watering rivers. When he told a holy man about this vision, the man interpreted it as a sign. He said that Osman and his descendants would build a mighty empire that would rule over vast lands for many centuries. This dream gave Osman and his followers great hope and a sense of destiny. It inspired them to fight for a future that was much larger than their small beginnings, turning their ambition into a divine mission to create a global power. Following this dream, Osman began to expand his territory. He and his warriors, known as Ghazis, fought against the neighboring Byzantine fortresses. They were motivated by both the desire for land and the spirit of holy war. They slowly but surely captured town after town, pushing the borders of their small state outward. Osman was not just a conqueror, he was also a fair ruler. He treated the people he conquered with respect, whether they were Christians or Muslims. This fairness encouraged many people to accept his rule peacefully, which helped his small principality grow stronger and more stable with each new victory he achieved. The state that Osman built became known as the Ottoman Beylik. The name Ottoman comes from his own name, Osman. When he died around 1324, he left behind a solid foundation for his son, Orhan, to build upon. What started as a tiny warrior state on the frontier had become a growing power with a clear purpose. Osman's leadership, his vision, and his fair treatment of his subjects were the first important steps in a long journey. This journey would see his small tribe grow into one of the most powerful and long-lasting empires in the history of the entire world, fulfilling the prophecy of his incredible dream. After Osman, the empire continued to grow under his successors. They crossed from Anatolia into Europe, capturing lands in the Balkans. The city of Constantinople, however, remained a prize just out of their reach. It was the capital of the Byzantine Empire, a Christian empire that had stood for over 1,000 years. The city was protected by massive walls that were thought to be unbreakable. For centuries, it stood as a symbol of Christian power and history. The Ottomans saw it as the key to unlocking their true potential. Capturing it would not only give them a magnificent capital, but would also prove their strength to the entire world and secure their place in history. In the year 1453, a young and brilliant sultan named Mehmed II came to the throne. He was only 21 years old, but he was filled with immense ambition. His greatest goal was to conquer Constantinople. He believed it was his destiny to take the city that so many others had failed to capture. Mehmed was a master strategist and an expert in new military technology. He began his preparations carefully, building a fortress on the European side of the Bosphorus Strait to control sea traffic. He gathered a huge army and, most importantly, he commissioned the creation of giant cannons, bigger than any that had been seen before. The siege of Constantinople began in April 1453. For 53 days, Mehmed's army battered the city's legendary walls with his enormous cannons. The defenders, led by the last Byzantine emperor, Constantine XI, fought back bravely, but they were vastly outnumbered. The massive cannons slowly crumbled the ancient stone walls that had protected the city for so long. Inside the city, the people were filled with fear, but also with the determination to defend their home. The Ottomans also faced challenges, as the Byzantines used a giant chain across the Golden Horn harbor to block the Ottoman navy from entering. Mehmed famously ordered his ships to be dragged over land to get past this defensive chain. Finally, on May 29, 1453, the Ottoman soldiers broke through the weakened walls. The city fell. Mehmed II rode into Constantinople as the conqueror. He went to the great church of Hagia Sophia and declared that it would become a mosque, a symbol of the city's new identity. He earned the title Fatih, which means the conqueror. The fall of Constantinople was a turning point in world history. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the true beginning of the Ottoman Empire as a major world power. The city was renamed Istanbul and became the new splendid capital of the vast and growing empire. After the conquest of Constantinople, the Ottoman Empire entered a period of incredible expansion. It grew from a regional power into a global one, stretching across 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. The sultans who followed Mehmed the Conqueror were also skilled military leaders who pushed the empire's borders further and further. They believed it was their duty to expand the realm and bring more lands under their protection. This expansion made the Ottoman Empire one of the largest and most powerful empires in the world for several centuries, controlling key trade routes and vast resources that fueled its strength and prosperity. In Europe, the Ottoman armies marched deep into the Balkans and Eastern Europe. They conquered lands that are now part of countries like Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and Serbia. Their armies even reached the gates of Vienna in Austria twice, in 1529 and 1683, which caused great alarm across the European continent. The empire's presence in Europe created a long and complex relationship with Christian kingdoms, filled with both conflict and cultural exchange. The Ottomans controlled the Danube River and much of the Black Sea, giving them significant influence over European trade and politics for a very long time. To the east and south, the empire also grew immensely. In Asia, the Ottomans took control of Anatolia, Syria, Palestine, Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, and the holy cities of Mecca and Medina in the Arabian Peninsula. This made the Ottoman Sultan the protector of Islam's most sacred sites, a role that gave him immense prestige throughout the Muslim world. In Africa, the empire's influence stretched along the entire northern coast, from Egypt in the east to Algeria in the west. Egypt was a particularly important prize because it was a rich source of grain and tax revenue, which helped to feed and fund the empire's massive capital city, Istanbul. At its largest size in the 16th and 17th centuries, the Ottoman Empire was a true world power. It controlled the crossroads of trade between the East and the West. Goods like silk from China and spices from India had to pass through Ottoman lands to reach Europe, which made the empire very wealthy. This vast territory was home to an incredible variety of people, cultures, and landscapes. From the snowy mountains of the Balkans to the hot deserts of Arabia, and from the fertile Nile Valley to the plains of Hungary, all were ruled from the magnificent city of Istanbul by the Ottoman Sultan. Governing such a vast and diverse empire was a major challenge, but the Ottomans developed a very effective system of government. At the very top was the Sultan. He was the absolute ruler of the empire, holding complete political, military, and judicial power. The throne was passed down through the male line of the House of Osman, the family that started the empire. The Sultan lived in the magnificent Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, which was the center of government. From there, he made all the important decisions for the empire with the help of his advisors. He was seen as the protector of his people and the shadow of God on earth. The Sultan was not just a political leader, he was also the Caliph of the Muslim world. This title meant he was considered the religious successor to the Prophet Muhammad. This gave him authority over Muslims not just inside his empire, but all around the world. As Caliph, his duty was to uphold Islamic law, known as Sharia, and to protect the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. This dual role as both Sultan and Caliph gave the Ottoman ruler immense power and prestige. His government was run by a grand council called the Divan, which was led by the Grand Vizier, who was like the Sultan's prime minister. One of the most clever parts of the Ottoman government was the millet system. The empire was home to many different religious groups, including Orthodox Christians, Jews, and Armenian Christians. Instead of forcing everyone to become Muslim, the Ottomans allowed these groups to govern themselves. Each religious community, or millet, was led by its own religious leader, like a patriarch or a chief rabbi. These leaders were responsible for their community's personal matters, such as marriage, divorce, and inheritance. They could run their own schools, collect their own taxes, and use their own language, all while remaining loyal subjects of the Sultan. This millet system was a very practical way to manage a multicultural empire. It allowed for a great deal of religious freedom and tolerance, which was quite rare in the world at that time. It meant that Christians and Jews could live their lives according to their own traditions without much interference from the central government. This system helped to keep the peace among the empire's many different peoples for centuries. It showed that the Ottomans understood that they could not rule by force alone. They also needed to give their subjects a reason to be loyal. This tolerance was a key to the empire's long survival and stability. The Ottoman Empire reached its peak of power and glory during the reign of one sultan in particular, Suleiman I. He ruled from 1520 to 1566, and, his reign is often called the Golden Age of the Empire. In Europe, he was known as Suleiman the Magnificent because of the incredible wealth and splendor of his court. In his own empire, however, he was called Kanuni, which means the lawgiver. This was because he oversaw a major reform of the empire's legal system. He worked to create a single, clear set of laws that covered everything from criminal justice to taxes, making sure the government was run fairly and efficiently across his vast lands. Under Suleiman's command, the Ottoman military was the most feared fighting force in the world. His elite soldiers, the Janissaries, were really famous for their discipline and skill in battle. Suleiman personally led his armies on 13 major military campaigns. He expanded the empire's borders further into Europe, capturing the important city of Belgrade and defeating the Kingdom of Hungary at the Battle of Mohacs. His navy, under the command of the great Admiral Barbarossa Hayreddin Pasha, totally dominated the Mediterranean Sea. They controlled the seas from the coast of Spain to the shores of the Levant, securing vital trade routes and challenging the naval power of European states like Venice and Spain. The economy of the empire also thrived during Suleiman's rule. Istanbul became one of the largest and wealthiest cities in the world, a bustling center of international trade. Merchants from all over the globe came to its markets to buy and sell goods. The empire's control over the land and sea routes between Asia and Europe meant that it could tax this trade, bringing enormous sums of money into the Sultan's treasury. This wealth was used to fund the army, build magnificent mosques and palaces, and support a vibrant culture of art and learning. The empire's finances were well organized, and its currency was stable, which really contributed to its overall prosperity. Suleiman the Magnificent was more than just a conqueror and a lawgiver. He was also a great patron of the arts and architecture. He wanted his capital, Istanbul, to be a reflection of the empire's power and glory. He commissioned hundreds of building projects, including bridges, aqueducts, and caravanserais. His reign saw the construction of some of the most beautiful mosques in the world, designed by his brilliant chief architect, Mehmed II. Suleiman's leadership combined military strength, economic prosperity, legal justice, and cultural achievement, making his time on the throne the highest point of Ottoman history and, honestly, a true golden age for the empire. The Golden Age under Suleiman was not just about military power. It was also a time of incredible cultural and artistic achievement. The wealth of the empire allowed the sultans to be generous patrons, supporting artists, poets, and architects. The imperial court in Istanbul became a vibrant center for creativity, drawing talented people from all corners of the realm and beyond. This period saw the development of a unique Ottoman artistic style that blended influences from Persian, Byzantine, and Arab traditions. The art produced during this era was known for its elegance, intricate detail, and beautiful use of color, reflecting the confidence and sophistication of the empire at its height. Architecture was perhaps the most visible expression of Ottoman glory. The chief imperial architect under Suleiman, Mimar was a true genius. He designed over 300 major structures, including mosques, bridges, palaces, and public baths. His most famous works are the magnificent mosques that still dominate the skyline of Istanbul today. The Süleymaniye Mosque, built in honor of Sultan Suleiman, is considered his masterpiece. These mosques featured vast open interior spaces covered by massive domes, a feat of engineering that created a sense of awe and spiritual grandeur. Sinan's designs perfected the Ottoman architectural style and influenced buildings across the empire for centuries to come. Other art forms also flourished. Ottoman calligraphers were masters of beautiful handwriting, turning verses from the Quran and lines of poetry into stunning works of art. They developed unique scripts that were both elegant and powerful. Miniature painting was another important art form. Artists created detailed, colorful illustrations for books that depicted historical events, courtly life, and famous stories. These miniatures provide a fascinating window into the world of the Ottoman elite. Furthermore, the production of ceramics, especially the famous blue and white tiles from the town of Iznik, reached its peak. These beautiful tiles were used to decorate the walls of mosques and palaces, adding a splash of vibrant color. Literature and poetry were also highly valued. The Ottoman court had a rich literary tradition, with poets writing in Turkish, Persian, and Arabic. They composed epic poems celebrating military victories, as well as more personal works about love, nature, and faith. Suleiman himself was a talented poet who wrote under the pen name Muhibbi, meaning lover or friend. This cultural flowering was a key part of the empire's golden age. It showed that the Ottoman Empire was not just a military machine, but also a sophisticated civilization that produced lasting works of beauty and intellect, leaving an artistic legacy that is still admired today. After the glorious reign of Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire began a long and slow process of decline. This did not happen overnight. The empire remained a major world power for a long time. However, the seeds of its future problems were planted in the centuries that followed its golden age. One of the main reasons for this decline was a series of weak and ineffective sultans. Unlike the early warrior sultans who led their armies in person, many later rulers preferred to stay in the palace. They were often inexperienced and had little interest in the day-to-day business of governing, leaving power in the hands of court officials who were sometimes corrupt. Militarily, the empire started to fall behind Europe. While European nations were experiencing scientific and industrial revolutions, the Ottomans were slower to adopt new technologies and military strategies. The Janissary Corps, once the empire's elite fighting force, became a powerful political group that resisted change. They often cared more about their own privileges than about defending the empire, and they even launched revolts against sultans who tried to reform the army. The failure of the Second Siege of Vienna in 1683 is often seen as a major turning point. After this defeat, the Ottomans began to lose territory in Europe for the first time in centuries. Economically, the empire also faced serious challenges. New sea routes discovered by European explorers, such as the one around Africa to India, allowed them to bypass the Ottoman lands. This meant that Europe no longer had to pay taxes to the Ottomans for trade with the East, and the empire lost a huge source of income. At the same time, a massive amount of silver from the Americas flowed into Europe and then into the Ottoman Empire, causing high inflation. This made prices go up and the value of Ottoman money go down, which hurt the economy and caused hardship for ordinary people, leading to social unrest in many parts of the empire. As the central government in Istanbul grew weaker, local rulers in distant provinces became more powerful. They often acted like independent kings, collecting taxes for themselves and ignoring the Sultan's orders. This loss of central control made it difficult to govern the empire effectively and to defend its long borders. The empire was so large that it became very difficult to manage from a single center, especially with communication and transportation being so slow. These internal weaknesses, combined with the growing strength of its European rivals, set the stage for a period of decline that would last for more than 200 years. By the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire was in serious trouble. European powers had grown much stronger, and they began to refer to the empire as the sick man of Europe. It was seen as a falling power that was struggling to survive in the modern world. Throughout the 1800s, the empire lost more and more territory. Nationalist movements began to spread across the Balkans, inspired by the ideas of the French Revolution. People in Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania wanted to have their own independent countries, free from Ottoman rule. With the help of European powers like Russia and Britain, many of these regions fought for and won their independence. In response to this decline, some sultans and government officials tried to reform and modernize the empire. This period of reform, known as the Tanzimat, began in 1839. The government tried to create a more modern army, a more efficient bureaucracy, and a new legal system that would give all citizens equal rights, regardless of their religion. They built new schools, railways, and telegraph lines to try to catch up with Europe. However, these reforms were often too little, too late. They were expensive and were resisted by conservative groups within the empire, who feared that the changes were destroying their traditional way of life. The final blow to the Ottoman Empire came with World War I, which began in 1914. The empire made the fateful decision to join the war on the side of Germany and Austria-Hungary against Britain, France, and Russia. The war was a disaster for the Ottomans. They fought on multiple fronts, from the deserts of Arabia to the mountains of the Caucasus. The empire's resources were stretched to the breaking point, and its armies suffered terrible losses. The war also saw the tragic and systematic persecution of the Armenian population within the empire, an event that remains a deeply painful and controversial part of its history. When the war ended in 1918, the Ottoman Empire was on the losing side. The victorious Allied powers occupied Istanbul and planned to break up the empire, dividing its lands among themselves. the Sultan was left with almost no power. The once mighty empire that had ruled for over 600 years was completely defeated and humiliated. This defeat sparked a new wave of Turkish nationalism, led by a brilliant army officer named Mustafa Kemal. He organized a resistance movement to drive out the occupying forces and create a new, independent nation for the Turkish people from the ashes of the old empire. The official end came in 1922, when the last Ottoman Sultan was sent into exile. The end of the Ottoman Empire led directly to the birth of a new country. The Turkish nationalist movement, led by Mustafa Kemal, fought a successful war of independence against the occupying forces. In 1923, he officially declared the creation of the Republic of Turkey. Mustafa Kemal, who was given the title Atatürk, meaning Father of the Turks, became its first president. He wanted to create a modern, secular nation-state based on a Western model. He introduced sweeping reforms, abolishing the caliphate, replacing the Arabic script with a Latin alphabet for the Turkish language, and giving women the right to vote. This marked a complete break with the Ottoman past. However, the legacy of the Ottoman Empire is still very much alive today, not just in Turkey, but across all the lands it once ruled. The most visible legacy is in architecture. From the Balkans to the Middle East, cities are filled with beautiful mosques, bridges, public fountains, and bathhouses built during the Ottoman era. The skyline of Istanbul, with its magnificent domes and slender minarets, is a powerful and constant reminder of the city's imperial past. These buildings are not just historical monuments. They are an active part of daily life and a source of great cultural pride for the people who live among them. The empire's influence can also be seen in culture, especially in food, music, and language. Many of the dishes enjoyed in the Middle East, the Balkans, and North Africa have their roots in the imperial kitchens of the Ottoman palace. Foods like kebabs, baklava, and yogurt are shared across this wide region. Similarly, Ottoman music, with its unique instruments and melodies, has left its mark on the traditional music of many countries. Words from Ottoman Turkish can also be found in many of the languages spoken in the former territories of the empire, a subtle reminder of a shared history. The Ottoman Empire's long history of governing many different peoples has also left a complex political and cultural legacy. The borders of many modern countries in the Middle East and the Balkans were drawn after the empire's collapse, sometimes without regard for the ethnic and religious groups living there. This has led to many of the conflicts that still affect the region today. Yet, the memory of the millet system's relative tolerance also provides a different model of coexistence. The story of the Ottoman Empire, with its glorious rise and slow fall, continues to shape the identity, culture, and politics of a vast part of the world, echoing through time.